A live match reactions show with Seb Brown after a 0-0. It's just like the old times. This is Blue Monday. Hello and welcome to the Blue Monday podcast covering all things Ipswich Town since 2015. This is the last podcast of a magical 2023. What a way to finish it. It was Ipswich Town 0, QPR 0, Seb. Injuries galore, but you've made it.
Yes, it's like you said in your intro, it's a throwback, isn't it, to 2021, however many of these we did, trying to come on here and talk about something after 0-0s against Northampton and Wimbledon and the like. Yeah, I think, look, tonight was just, we'll discuss the match obviously in more detail. Tonight was what it was. I think I put in our match day Telegram chat just before kickoff that we just needed to find a way to win today. You know, the schedule's been relentless. Thankfully, December is now over, and we've got to look at the positives. You know, if you'd have said to me, you're going into the new year, you'll be hopefully, touch wood, 9 points clear of Leeds still if they manage to lose tonight, and still a few points clear of whoever's in third, I'd have snapped your hand off given the fixture list. So frustrating tonight, but bigger picture, you know, a decent December spell and an incredible 2023. Let's be honest, you know, we have so many memories from this year to look back on. Yes, this night was frustrating. One more game to go before a bit of a break with the FA Cup run. Hopefully we can get some bodies back in the building from injury, maybe a few transfers, and look to hit it hard in the second half of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's been an incredible year, hasn't it? We'll talk about 2023 in general a little bit, but let's get into talking about this game, Seb. And I guess loads to talk about in the team news. This is the Ipswich team. A few shocks, a few bits of rotation, and even this graphic turned out to be wrong in the end, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. Yeah, when your luck's out, it's definitely out, isn't it? You know, was it 6-7 changes in the end? So that McKenna kind of revealed post-match that pre-match that a couple of them had picked up knocks after the Leicester game, and I guess if you look at the lineup now, we know where those bodies were unavailable from. You know, Williams comes back in on the right for Clark. I will discuss the performance. I didn't think he was great tonight at all. The only established kind of partnership in that entire 11 is the Wolfen and Burgess one at centre back. Davis obviously has got a calf issue, so Cameron Humphries comes in there. I guess there was some debate. We knew Morsey was going to miss out, so there was a debate pre-match. Is Ball going to step in? Is Taylor going to step in? I kind of figured it would be Luongo and Taylor in the middle, but Ball, being the natural deputy for Morsey, gets his first start of the season in the league. And then Broadhead, you know, I wasn't at the game, obviously, sat here in my house. If anyone in the comments can tell us what happened, did he just pull up in the warm-up? And, you know, thankfully Harness was the 19th man, so it's a pretty direct like-for-like kind of swap. And Hurst, we know, has got this, you know, significant, as McKenna called it, hamstring injury. So for now, Ladapo and Jackson are going to have to share the striking duties between them, and Jackson and Ladapo gets the nod tonight, which made sense. I didn't think there'd be much space in behind QPR. It's not a game that I think would have suited Cade and Jackson. So Freddie got his start, and yeah, a couple of early opportunities for him. But apart from that, we did look a bit toothless up front, didn't we?
We did, yeah. Neil Johnson in the comments said Broadhead's mum tweeted that he was vomiting. So maybe he's caught the same bug that kept Wes Burns out of the squad. I mean, that's nasty for Broadhead, but if that means that he isn't injured in the long term, that is obviously good news. Yeah, this is a live match reaction show, and I know a lot of our usual viewers will still be making their way away from the ground at the moment, but yeah, please get your questions in the chat, and we'll get to them in a little while. Daryl Hughes kind of echoes what you said in the opening there, Seb. Always going to be a period in the season where injuries and suspensions challenge the depth of our squad. This is that period. I think supporters of other clubs, Seb, have asked me a couple of times this year, just at work, like saying, "Oh, well, but what's going to happen to Ipswich when you get a few injuries? What's your squad depth like?" And I've always kind of batted that away and said, well, we've got sort of two good players in every position. But what we didn't really account for, Seb, was all of these injuries happening at the same time as our most influential player being out suspended as well.
Yeah, you can take one or two hits, can't you? You know, we've discussed throughout the season the areas of the squad where there is a noticeable drop off if somebody doesn't make the match day 11. But to be hit with so many, you know, absentees in one evening was always going to be a hell of an ask. I mean, if you took Leeds' I don't know, front four, one of their centre halves, etc., out, even they would kind of struggle. You know, squad depth is incredibly important, but the run of games at this time of year is absolutely relentless. Is it 4 games in 9 days? I think it works out at when you factor in obviously Leeds, Leicester tonight, and then Stoke on Monday. You know, it's a big ask for any side in this division, and you know we are what we are. You know, we have a very good 11. We have substitutes who can obviously make a huge impact, as we've seen with all the goal scoring stats from our subs. But when you lose this many people in a relentless run of fixtures, it's naturally going to have an impact on the performance. It's going to lead to a disjointed and unfamiliar kind of patterns of play, and that's exactly what we saw for 90 minutes tonight, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. Just a quick look at the QPR team sheet, Seb. I think the headline news for them was Sinclair Armstrong getting the nod in attack ahead of Lyndon Dykes. Andre Dazelle making his return. Begovic as well. They had their full strength back 4 out, but 1 or 2 players missing. I think QPR are more than good enough to stay up, aren't they, on the evidence that we've seen over the 2 games we've played against them?
Well, they'd hit a decent run of form recently. I think they've lost the last 3 on the bounce, haven't they? But before then, they took like 10 points from 5 games. So Fuentes had obviously come in, replaced I forgot the guy's name, Gareth Ainsworth, and completely got them, you know, firing. But they have dropped off recently. The 2 games, yeah, like you say, we've played against them. They've been tough. They've been combative. They've you know, are they lacking a bit of quality up front? Potentially. You know, I didn't realise that Sinclair Armstrong hasn't actually scored since we played them back in August. He's got the 1 goal so far this season. I think that came the weekend before we faced them, and he hasn't scored since. So, you know, with the likes of Elias Chair, Willock, I guess Sinclair Armstrong a little bit, you can always hopefully kind of, you know, rely on something. But they are starting to get cut a little bit adrift now. And Sheffield Wednesday winning tonight, if they did hang on and win, I think they did. I think they won 1-0. That won't help them. But yeah, the 2 games we've played them, I'm surprised where they are in the league, because they've looked okay both occasions. Nothing, you know, not earth-shatteringly good or anything, but they do the things that you would think, if you do them all season, would have you away from the bottom of the league. You can be organised, you can be hard to beat, you can fight, and that's what they've shown in the 180 minutes against us this year.
They have, yeah. And I mean, Sinclair Armstrong started like an absolute train. Just brushes off Burgess, doesn't he, in that right channel. Decides to shoot from a really tight angle, probably not the right decision, but Ladke has to push it behind for a corner. Ladapo gets his first sight of goal in the 6th minute, played in by Chaplin, just a straight ball in between those 2 centre-backs. Ladapo gets in 1-on-1. Obviously doesn't fancy hitting it on his left foot. It doesn't quite open up for him, and then he turns and the defender gets back around him. I think it was Clark Salter. Did good bit of defending, but just not quite incisive enough from Ladapo there.
No, lovely through ball, wasn't it, from Chaplin? A really nice first-time ball. Splits the defence. Ladapo's found the space, but he just can't get it out. Like you say, doesn't fancy it on his left, as he wants to get it onto his right foot, but can't quite get it out. And it's decent defending from the QPR centre-backs. He found the space quite well, I thought, and it was a lovely ball to find him from Chaplin. So it was a decent early move. And at that point, you know, Ladapo obviously is coming for some stick on social media and the message boards, you know, saying he'll be moving on in January, like we had all summer, really. He'll be moving on. He's not good enough for this level. But I was quite impressed with him in the first kind of 10 minutes. He had this one, and then he'll have the one you'll discuss in a second where he gets through again. And I thought he looked lively in the first sort of 10, 15 minutes. I thought they started quite well. I thought QPR first 5 minutes, I thought they were knocking it around quite nicely. And then we sort of started to grow into the game. And this one-on-one chance that Jackson couldn't get out from under his feet was the start of us kind of taking control in the kind of the sort of 5 to 20 minute period.
Yeah, Ladapo there, you mean, not Jackson. As you mentioned, though, only 3 minutes later, Harness wins the ball in the final third. Good play from Harness. First time ball plays in Ladapo. This time he does get his shot away, and Ladapo he's good in these situations, but decent enough save from Begovic. Perhaps Ladapo could have done better, but he hasn't played an incredible amount of football, has he, recently? And then immediately we do the old corner routine where you pull it back. Was it Humphries that took that corner, or did Hutchinson go over and take it?
No, Humphries took that one, didn't he? He gives the arms up, and then, like we've seen so many times over the last 18 months, Chaplin just hangs back, finds the space. Lovely ball in from Humphries to pick him out. I've been sort of lamenting pre-match about how our corners recently had seemed pretty poor. Certainly in the last few games. I can't remember the last time we'd had a really good kind of set piece. So it was nice to see a throwback to the old days. I still don't know how we managed to get away with it, given that sides must, do their research, and the analysis sides must look at us and kind of spot our patterns of play. But yeah, Chaplin strikes the ball low, gets a decent connection on it, but big arse from there, getting through that crowd, and Begovic ends up going down and claiming pretty comfortably.
Yeah, it's the sort of chance that, I mean, it's barely a half chance for most people, but it's a good chance for Connor Chaplin, because he's found himself in that situation so many times, hasn't he? On 20 minutes, Williams sloppy in possession, Chair slips in, Armstrong hits a shot sort of towards the near post again. Probably didn't need to shoot, but he'd obviously been told to get shots away. Hladky was sharp to it, pushed it around the post. And then in the 31st minute, just like at Loftus Road, Seb, the post saves us.
It was exactly the same, really, wasn't it? Yeah, a ball corner comes in. I think it's Cook, isn't it? Gets the kind of near post flick on, comes off the inside of the post, goes all the way across the goal line, just like Sinclair Armstrong's effort did at Loftus Road. Hladky then gets a punch on it, and we clear the ball away. And that was a big let off, because I know I said we grew into the game from sort of the 5th minute onwards, but we'd started to kind of make unforced errors and sloppy passes. And you mentioned a minute ago, Williams kind of loose in possession, and that was creeping into the game more and more, I thought. And that should have been a real wake-up call to us, because, again, incredibly fortunate, one of those physics kind of defying efforts where, for all intents and purposes, you're expecting the ball to hit the post and float into the net. But thankfully, Hladky's in the right place, basically in the back of the goal, to punch it away. We get the ball clear, and that should have been the wake-up to realise, right, I know we've got a lot of changes. I know we might be not toothless in attack, because we still have the likes of Chaplin and Harness playing, but we need to really dig in here and up our levels to kind of get a result, because, at that point, I thought the game really started to kind of descend into sloppiness, unforced errors, flat performance, disjointed, and that was kind of the way it continued all the way through to half-time, I thought.
It did, yeah. We had one more sort of half chance before the break, though. Long diagonal ball from Burgess reaches Hutchinson, cuts inside, hits a decent shot, which was tipped over
decent
by Begovic. I was kind of looking to Hutchinson tonight as maybe he's our main goal threat. Aside from Connor Chaplin, I was thinking that maybe him cutting in might be a source for us. Kind of had a frustrating evening, didn't he? But that was a bright moment from him.
Yeah, that was decent, wasn't it? Got onto his left foot, got the shot off, and Begovic tips over. But apart from that, yeah, I know what you're saying in terms of being the goal threat, given the ability that he's got, and given how much we like to play down the right-hand side. When Burns is playing, Burgess is always looking for those big, quick diagonals to release him in behind. But we didn't really look to utilise Hutchinson much in that first half, I didn't think. He got on the ball a bit more in the second half, and we'll discuss some of the, the kind of the final balls into the box not being amazing. But that was a good effort. It was a decent effort and a good save by Begovic. But again, that was one of the few times we kind of looked to move the ball quickly, I thought. And in terms of how we normally sort of play, a lot of the play was ponderous and slow and, kind of back and side to side, which was very unlike us. But again, given the amount of changes we've made and the lack of familiarity in the playing squad, pretty understandable, to be fair.
Yeah. Half time then comes, and I think we find out maybe 15 minutes into half time that there's been a medical emergency. Apparently it was in the South Stand. Really unfortunate stuff there. And our thoughts are with whoever is involved there, and fingers crossed everything is okay as it can be. The game ended up resuming just after 9:15. Said the players went out and had like a 6-minute warm up, didn't they? We didn't make any changes. They brought the stats up at the end of half time, 7. Yeah, I think QPR had over 56% possession, and they also had a hell of a lot more passes in the final third as well, which kind of told the story of that first half. But that being said, we did have a few openings.
Yeah, exactly that. We had a few chances that we couldn't take. They were knocking the ball fairly decently. They were looking to involve Chair, weren't they? Chair would always receive the ball, look to kind of cut inside onto his right, either to get a shot off or to kind of pick up somebody on the edge of the D. And that was their kind of patterns of play. And I guess for the second week running, the second game running, maybe we can discuss why our right back was always letting the same kind of things happen in terms of Chair picking it up and cutting inside. But if that's part of the game plan, then that is what it is. They looked, apart from the effort that went across the line, a couple of early shots from Sinclair Armstrong, maybe showing his rawness. Maybe it's better to hold the ball up and look for others arriving late on into the box. I didn't think they offered that much in attack, but to be fair, apart from the Hutchison flick over, the tip over, and Ladapo obviously hitting the legs of Begovic, we didn't really either, was it? It was a pretty, after the greatness that was the second half against Leicester, where I thought we were absolutely brilliant. I understand we must have put an awful lot into that game. I thought that it was the first half was a tough watch after that.
It was, yeah, just like watching a completely different team, wasn't it? It more resembled.
It literally was a different team, wasn't it? That's the caveat, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. 54 minutes, our first sort of sight of goal in the second half. Ladapo has a header wide. He was quite far out there. No real control of the game for either team at this stage. But on the 61st minute, we have probably our best move of the whole game, Seb. Harness plays the ball out wide nicely to Humphries, and he puts a superb first-time ball in. I think Humphries had maybe been told to be a little bit more positive and get down that left touchline. And he puts a fantastic ball in. Harness controls it beautifully, hits the first-time shot on his weaker left foot. Another decent save by Begovic. A little bit unlucky, that one, Seb.
It was, probably one of the best chances of the match, wasn't it? Because I can't remember too much happening after that. It was a good save by Begovic, and again, it was one of the few times we really looked to move the ball quickly, didn't we? It was a decent ball in from. It was Humphries that put the ball in for Ladapo's header, and he kind of started that second half well, I thought, in terms of his delivery into the box, and a great chance. Harness is strong on that left foot. We saw that with the volley away at Birmingham. Does well to get the shot off, and Begovic again is in the right place to tip it over. I mean, if you think of that one, he saved the ones with his legs from Ladapo in the first half, and the one he tips over the bar from Hutchinson. He's pretty much kept them in the game. And if one of those goes in, it's a completely different match, isn't it? If Harness scores there, it's a completely different game. But frustrating, but we have to take our medicine, I guess. If we don't take our chances, and this is what happens. But the positives are, like I said, we are still points ahead of Leeds, a few points ahead of Southampton, and the run of schedule was always gonna be tough on the players.
Yeah, and it was no real surprise, Seb, that immediately after we make a few changes, Taylor, Jackson, and Clark came on for Ball, Ladapo, and Williams. What did he make of Don Ball's performance?
I thought he was all right, to be fair. On the Telegram match day group at half time, people were saying, he was always passing sideways, always passing backwards, didn't know what to do with the ball when he had it. I thought on telly he looked okay, to be fair. He's kind of been practicing in that Morsey role, McKenna revealed. So they've clearly been preparing for Morsey's suspension for a few weeks now. And he was dropping deep to pick the ball up. And I thought his range of passing was okay. I mean, he's no Sam Morsey, but to be fair, no one was going to be. So I thought he was all right. I didn't think he was the worst of the players that came in. I thought Brandon Williams had a real off night. He looks a shadow of the player that we saw in October time, when he was offering such incredible attacking intent down the flanks. But Ball, I thought, did okay. But that's his first league start of the season. Williams has played very little football, so at 60 minutes, it made sense that he had to try and freshen it up because Williams was making unforced errors. He had that one chance where he could have laid the ball off 3 or 4 times. The QPR ended up nicking it off him, and then getting a ball into the box. And I guess the substitutes were logical. Did you see Ladapo having? I don't know if he was getting grief off the crowd or if
I think he
player going off. He didn't look happy, did he? And obviously not being there. I'm not. We'll have to wait for Rich maybe to join the stream and he can fill us in. But he didn't look happy at all going off.
No, you could hear the groans around the ground when he failed to trap a couple of balls that were played into his feet early on in the second half, and I thought, oh god, like he's lost the fans. And then I think there might have been, wouldn't be that surprised to hear if there was ironic cheering when his number came up, and then Caden Jackson comes on, and I mean the fans behave exactly the same towards him. Like I can get the frustration when the ball comes up to one of those two and they don't hold the ball up, but when they do it and they do it well, there's not enough praise coming from the same people that are criticising them. For me, I think a lot of people have made their mind up on some players, and they're not gonna change change it, are they? But neither of them are first choice, and they're the players that are going to have to play just because of lack of availability elsewhere.
And the trouble is that apart from Morsey in the middle, that is the biggest drop off for a replacement in our side, isn't it? You know, Hurst can do everything. He can hold the ball up. He can press. He's deceptively quick for a big guy. He can do kind of everything they can do. And any player that comes in from the current squad isn't going to be able to fulfill those kind of duties. Unfortunately, it's incredibly frustrating, obviously. But yeah, I mean, Ledamo's had it in the past, hasn't he? I remember a cup game at the start of last season. I think he was getting ironic cheers and stuff, and he eventually scored in that game. I think he gave a bit back to the North Stand. But yeah, don't like to see that. You know, it's a tough run of fixtures. He is the backup. He's barely played any football. I think it was his second league start of the season, they said on Town TV tonight. So yeah, not overly keen on that. No.
Those subs, though, there was an instant injection of tempo, wasn't there? We started pressing them high up the pitch, but that did invite QPR to hit us on the counter, and they very nearly scored. Really dangerous counter down their left, and the ball comes across, and Hladky, really smart, comes off his line and denies Smith what was probably going to be an open goal, wasn't it? Well, it was going to be an open goal. He came out fully committed. Hladky did really well to stop that one. Smith then goes down under the presence of Wolfenden. I mean, he absolutely tore us up in knots in that corner, didn't he? But then obviously makes the decision, right, I'm going to try and buy a penalty here.
Yeah, looking for it, wasn't he? Looking for it. I mean, Wolfenden has got an arm on him, but he goes down so easily. For me, it's not a penalty. I saw a couple of people in the chat saying VAR probably does give that in the Premier League. Maybe we'll discuss a VAR one right at the end of the game that I think they would have given for a handball. But that one, I think he was looking for it. Did the hard part to beat the man and get himself into the box, and then I think he tried to buy one there, and the referee wasn't having any of it, thankfully.
Yeah. I think we might have a QPR fan amongst us. Welcome, James. He thinks it was a blatant penalty.
Well, the arm is on him, isn't he? The Wolfenden's arm is on the player, and he pulls him back a little bit, but not enough for me to have a penalty.
I think he might have got a penalty had he just taken a couple more steps, and then Wolfenden would have had a decision to make. But he kind of initiates the contact slightly too early and goes down. It's one that we would have claimed, but I think most of us probably on reflection would have said, no, I think he's tried to buy that one. A little bit like Cameron Humphries, although I think it probably would have been a free kick down our left near the end. Aluko, who had this one on the substitute bingo card before this game. So Shawnee Aluko comes on for the first time in what feels forever in the league. And this new lad, Boabo, can't say I know a huge amount about him, Seb, but made his Ipswich Town debut tonight.
Yeah, I don't know if he's featured in any of the Johnston's Paint Trophy, whatever it's called, things last season or any of the cup games this season. I'm not sure, but yeah, he was big. He looked like a handful.
I think he's been injured, according to McKenna.
Do you think it was a bit of a nod from McKenna to kind of the ownership group and Mark Ashton, and look, we're having to give debuts to kids in a Premier League kind of promotion race here? I think a bit of a nod maybe with his inclusion on the bench tonight, because Harness was the 19th man, wasn't he? Harness wasn't originally supposed to be on the bench. Apparently, he was the 19th man who was able to come in for Broadhead when he pulled up. So. If Boabo was on the bench ahead of him, I think McKenna's sending a little bit of a message there to the powers that be to say, look, I need a little bit of help here. But yeah, and Aluko, who we've not seen for presumably since one of the cup games. I can't remember the last time he played. I'm not even sure he's featured in the league at all this season. It might be in his first league minutes, comes on. You're kind of hoping then, aren't you? The bit of a spark, you've got potentially a raw striker up front, but it's always great to see an academy prospect come off the bench and get some involvement. And you're kind of thinking, can Aluko produce that one little moment of magic to unlock a pass, thread a through ball, or do something to kind of fashion an opening? And but unfortunately nothing really came off, did it?
No, it didn't. 98th minute, Caden Jackson does handle a cross in our box, doesn't he? But would have been unfortunate to.
I think VAR gives it, don't you? I think VAR give it in under the
quite possibly.
I mean,
it was definitely the more obvious of the two for me.
His silhouette was the wrong shape, wasn't it? I think VAR would have given that as a penalty in the end, given what the handball laws currently are at the moment. So that one for me, I think without VAR, I can understand why the ref isn't interested in it. With VAR, I think we might have been on the wrong end of one there. But yeah, and 8 minutes kind of went up, didn't it? There was a bit of a roar from the crowd. QPR started time wasting about 55, 60 minutes, didn't they? All their players were going down. I think Chair went down off the pitch and then kind of crawled back onto the pitch, and they were claiming outrage that we were playing on. But yeah, I think that, 8 minutes goes up, you're kind of hoping for something to happen. There was the Aluko kind of back heel, wasn't there? Was it Clark running in or Hutchinson running in? But again, I was Jackson, wasn't it? And he fires the ball into the near post, but no one's there to make the run, and Begovic claims, and that was about it, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was that. It felt very nil-nilly for quite a lot of that game, didn't it? Quite a few people saying that it was a penalty. Stonewall 5 meters in front of the ref. Very
the Smith
lucky.
one. Okay, I thought he bought it. I thought he was looking for it. I think the handball by Jackson right at the end, I think that would have been given.
Let's have a look at some of the reactions that I've seen coming in the chat. Steve Catchwell says, that was horrible, but Leeds' loss softens the blow. Still second, which is dreamland, really. We'll get to that Leeds result in a bit. Paul Mackley's joined us on Facebook. He says, battled well, but lacked the quality tonight. Show we desperately need help up front. Ladapo and Caden not the answer. Humphries did well, but he's no Davis. No, and that's no fault of his. No. Alex Mills tuning in from sunny Sydney. Very nice too. Always seems to have a bit of a blip in late December, January. Hopefully we get it out of the way early. Paul Tillman, lots of effort, but short on quality. Too many quality players missing and lacking cohesion. Shows we need to add a couple in Jan. Nodding along in agreement there, Seb. It did sort of lay bare a little bit that we are still slightly light, aren't we?
Yeah, and it shows how good that starting 11's been all season. You simply, like we said earlier, you can't take that level of absenteeism. To lose 2 or 3, you're going to be up against it. To lose whatever it was, 6 or 7 of your established first choice is always going to leave you short, and that's what we found tonight. And yeah, hopefully the powers that be, what does Mark Ashton always say? We will be relentless in our pursuit of excellence and promotion. So hopefully they're going to have targets in place and they'll move quite quickly. Obviously, nothing will happen before Stoke on Monday. Then you've got the FA Cup game against Wimbledon the following weekend, but hopefully we'll have at least one new face in the building by the time Sunderland come around in mid-January.
Skyliner says, I think we've been playing well above our real level to start the season. So these results were on the cards. Top 6 is a more realistic target unless we sign some worldies. Andy Carr says, more errors in one game in the last 4. See strangers playing like strangers. We've finally run out of steam.
I don't think we've run out of steam, have we? I think it is just a disjointed performance because of the amount of changes in that starting 11. Ball's first start of the season, Aluko's first appearance of the season, Williams, I don't think he played at Watford, got hooked at half time. Apart from that, I think he's barely featured this in December at all. There were just too many changes for us to be able to cope with. I don't think we ran out of steam because look how good we were against Leicester in that second half on only 3 days previously.
Mark Bloomfield, if Williams can play either side, why not Clark and him play push Humphrey up next to Luongo, set up defensively against poor side? I think it would have been a bold shout to play Humphries in the middle. I think it was always going to be Don Ball or Taylor because of the physicality. I wonder whether Clark, the effort that he's put into the last few games was maybe is it called the red zone, Seb? And
yeah, McKenna said on Town TV beforehand he was nursing. He's being managed with that Achilles injury, isn't he? And He has played pretty much every game since. Even at Watford, he came on at the halftime point, so he's played pretty much every game now for the last 7, 8, 9 games. So there are times where sometimes the medical teams and the sports science teams will step in and overrule. And if he's one of those in the amber zone or the red zone, then you have to rest him because of what can happen.
€10 from David Bergen. That's probably the comment of the night, Seb. Thank you very much, David. Hope you have a fantastic new year. And hopefully once the dust settles on this game, we just forget about it and we can reflect on what's been a fantastic 2023. And of course, the game's coming thick and fast. It's Stoke City in just a couple of days, Seb. You feel a little bit nervous about going there, though, with all of the issues that we have.
Well, yeah, it would have been so much nicer, wouldn't it? Win tonight, and it kind of takes a lot of the pressure off for Stoke. They've got a new manager. Obviously, they were on an awful run of form, beat Birmingham. They drew tonight, didn't they? Was it a 1-1 draw? I think tonight was it away at Watford?
We'll get into that.
Yeah, I think they drew tonight. So yeah, 4 points from their last 2 games. And had we have won tonight and got the 3 points, it takes a little bit of pressure off them. But hopefully, if Broadhead is just if Broadhead and Burns are just, viral kind of vomiting bug sicknesses. Hopefully they'll be okay for that game. Davis being a calf might be out longer term. We know that Hurst obviously won't be available, but Morsey will be back in the side as well. So we can go there with confidence.
Yeah, let's have a look at those other results. I clipped this up before the West Brom Leeds game finished, and indeed before our game finished. But that is how it finished. West Brom 1, Leeds 0. That is one of the toughest fixtures of the season, as we well know, Seb. But Leeds, since beating us convincingly just under a week ago, have now lost their next 2 games, and we've gained 2 points on them, Seb. Southampton, though, in the early game, edged out Plymouth. They're just relentless at the moment, Southampton, aren't they?
They are, yeah. Had that awful run, didn't they? Lost 4 on the bounce, including when we beat them, and they haven't lost since then. I think it's 16 or 17 games now without defeat. And I watched the first half of that, and Southampton were just constantly coming forward. Apparently, Plymouth had a goal wrongly disallowed by Ballymumba, so they can count themselves slightly aggrieved there, maybe. But based on the first half that I saw, Southampton just looks completely relentless.
No goal for Jay Stansfield in a 0-0 draw against Bristol City. Leicester, speaking of relentless, 2-0 win at Cardiff. What's the gap at the top now, Seb? We're going to see it in a minute, aren't we? Coventry drew at home to Swansea. It's probably a game that they were expecting to win. Middlesbrough, good win for them at Huddersfield. Hull, another win at home to Blackburn, not Blackpool. Millwall, 1-0 win over Norwich City. Wagner's days surely numbered. Big win for Sheffield Wednesday away at Preston. Preston so inconsistent at the moment. Rotherham with a 1-1 draw against Sunderland, and our opponents on New Year's Day, Stoke, had a 1-1 draw against Watford. And this is what the top 10 looks like now. Still pretty reading, but that gap to third place is now only 3 points, Seb. It's Southampton. And we're 9 points clear of Leeds.
But that's what the gap was always for. Coming into December, I don't think any of us expected us to come out of it with still, a 10-point gap or whatever it was at the time over third in place. And yes, Leeds have dropped right off, and now we're even further clear of them. But regardless of what happened 7 days ago, whenever it was, 6 days ago at Ellen Road. But yeah, Southampton are now the ones who are up there. But, there's still 3 points in it, and they've still got to come to Portman Road. Let's not forget, we've played Leeds twice now. That's done. We've got the quick repeat against Leicester in January, and then we've got Southampton to come to Portman Road. I think it's early April, isn't it? So they've still got to come to us and kind of look to pull something out the bag. But at the minute they are relentless. But we're an excellent side. We've been doing the same things for the last 4 or 5 months that have seen us get to whether it is now 52, 53 points by New Year's Day, and we all would have absolutely we'd all be staring at you in disbelief. You'd have said to us on the opening day of the season, you'll be going into 2024 in second place, 9 points clear of Leeds, 3 points clear whoever's in third. We'd have all said you were crazy. So we have to look back and say, December has been relentless. The fixture list does ease a little bit now. There's no easy games at this level, obviously, but the fixture list does get slightly kinder to us. The schedule gets kinder to us in terms of, with this crazy run of four games in 9 days has been, it's really tested our squad. We can look to get some bodies back. The transfer window will be open, and we look to go again for the second half of the season. I don't think we're going away anywhere. I've seen some people in the chat are saying, maybe we've run out of steam, maybe the bubbles burst, but I simply don't see that because of all the great stuff we've done for the last 4 or 5 months of this season, getting us this position. We know this kind of stuff works. The owners will back us. Ashton will go out. There will be new arrivals coming in January, and it's up to us after that to really go out and attack the second half of the season. And, we're on 52, 53. Was it 52 or 53 points? 52 points we're on. If we can get another, 40 points from the remaining half of the season and get to 92, 93, 94, 95 points, somewhere there or thereabouts. If that's not enough for second this year, then so be it. That's the world we live in, and we'll have a nice playoff semi-final doubleheader to contend with. But yeah, this squad has been absolutely sensational since August. And yes, they've had an off night tonight, and the squad is tested, but full faith that reinforcements are coming, and the second half of the season will provide some real highlights, just like last year did.
Love it, Seb. Glass half full from you. It is for Carnival Nation as well. He said, Leeds and Norwich lost. We drew. Move on to Monday. Neil Barley says, we didn't lose, and we were in League One last season. Yeah, exactly. It wasn't that long ago, was it?
Exactly.
We're going to reflect on 2023 in a little bit, and it wasn't all rosy in the garden earlier on, just under a year ago. Neil Barley says Norwich lost, not a bad night really. Yeah, looking on the bright side, and keep saying it, we didn't lose tonight. Neil Wilmore says very flat tonight, but Boabo looks more lively than Jackson and Adapo. It was quite an impressive cameo from him. He clearly has the physicality. He kept trying to get his back into the players, and he looks pretty mobile as well. Doubt we're going to see a huge amount of him, Seb, but looks like he might have a future.
Yeah, he held the ball up well a couple of times, didn't he? Kind of pinned his man whilst he looked for others to arrive, and yeah, he did what he could be expected to do. Minimal kind of time on the pitch, but he's big, he's physical, he puts himself around. If he's had injury problems, like you said, hopefully he'll now get a bit of a clear run. He can score some goals for the under-21s, and maybe we'll see him involved against Wimbledon in a couple of weeks' time. I guess we will if the squad is still stretched like it currently is. He might well get some action off the bench against Wimbledon in 10 days' time, whenever it is.
One man who is fighting fit, about to join us, is Rich Woodward, fresh from the lower Sir Bobby Robson stand. Rich, a frustrating night, but we're trying to look on the bright side, look at the positives. It's been a fantastic 2023, hasn't it? But I imagine you're feeling a little bit flat after that game.
Not really, not at all, actually. There's so many mitigating apologies about the steam in my glasses. I have walked quite a pace up the hill, so my glasses will eventually clear. But so many mitigating circumstances and so much stuff that could have gone wrong that went wrong tonight. So the fact we got a point, frankly, I think you said it, Mikey. Let's just move on. There's nothing really that we can do about players getting injured. The fact is that, as we know, behind this really strong first 11, there is not enough quality to compete at this level, and creating chances was the issue tonight. Decision making was the issue tonight. Leif Davis was the highest assist maker, one of the joint highest assist makers in the league. Cameron Humphries has not made a league start. I don't know what people were expecting tonight. Freddie Ladapo's hardly started. Dumball's not started, I don't believe, in the league. I think tonight I'm frustrated more with the attitude around me in the North Stand. I think there was a lot of unnecessary negativity. The atmosphere was quite flat at times. And really this inexperienced lineup needed our support. And I think large chunks of the fan base tonight were found wanting, sadly. It really hurts me to say that. But I'm seeing people, grown men, shout abuse at Freddie Ladapo, who's trying his absolute hardest. He's not George Hurst. He's not Connor Chaplin. He's not Nathan Broadhead. He's not going to do exactly what you think he's going to do. Same with Caden Jackson. People expecting Cameron Humphries to drop the shoulder and dash past Elias Chair and, dash into the box, expecting Dumball to drop the shoulder and do a Sam Morsey and, have a shot. The caliber of player that we're bringing in just isn't at the same level. And that's not the fault of those players. That's just circumstance. And that's just us being a League One team in transition. I keep talking about this. I think people feel it's an insult when I say that. This is a team that was in League One last season. We're up against ex-Premiership teams. QPR are not maybe where they were a few years ago, but they're decent. They're solid. They deserve our respect. And tonight, a makeshift team has got a point. So I think that's the summary. If ever there was a good time to have a transfer window, it's in 2 days' time, guys.
Yeah, context. Hey, Seb. Good to see that we're all in agreement. Sad to hear that it was like that in the North Stand. Although having stood in there many times myself in the more miserable years, I can't say I'm massively surprised.
No, I mean there were. I'm not going to pretend that the majority of people there were detractors or who were getting on the players' backs, because of course that isn't the case. But there were just far too many people who were. And maybe it was the fact it's a non-working day for a load of people and they were in the pub since 10 o'clock or something like that. I just don't know. It didn't bring out the best in anyone. But yeah, I guess on the positive side, I quite like the look of Gerard Boabu. I know of him from the under-20, under-18s. I think the FA Cup run from a few years ago. I think he can play wide left, and Joe will be shouting and screaming because I've got that wrong. But it was great to see him come up front. Definitely look to get involved, and I think it was your point, Mike. He tried to bring something different, trying to unsettle them. It's not a name they would have known, and maybe instead of bringing on Jackson for Ladapo, you bring on Boabo for Ladapo, and I think Ladapo deserved a little bit longer, if I'm honest. I think I was listening to you guys a bit, and I think you observed the same thing I did, the body language of Ladapo when he went off. I think that was because he got jeered, Mikey. I think you're right.
Yeah, so I think Ladapo, obviously he missed the two early chances. Neither of them were sitters, but he didn't get the goal, which would have got everyone right behind him. By the way, when he came on against Leicester, he was brilliant, wasn't he? He looked so up for it. Body language was great. So I think he started with the fans on his side. He didn't get that early goal, and you pick Ladapo over Jackson because he's much better with his back to goal, and he uses his body, gets first contact when the ball's brought into him. There was a couple of times early in the second half where the ball's literally gone under his foot.
Yeah.
And you just think it's going to be difficult for him now because he no longer has the fans on his side. And while not everyone is complaining or shouting at him, there'd probably be a lot of tutting and sighing, and then it becomes a little bit harder for him. And it is a difficult role that he was playing as well. A lot of the passes into him weren't great either. Let's face it, we weren't particularly incisive tonight. Even Connor Chaplin's passing into the front men wasn't perfect tonight, was it? But yeah, maybe you're right. I don't think Jackson is the answer when a team is playing a low block, because he has absolutely no chance to use his pace. The only opportunity he had to have a run was when he did eventually go out wide. But maybe it would have been a bold shout from McKenna, though, to bring on Boabo ahead of Jackson.
True. Well, I think probably my thought, Mikey, was that just keep Ladapo up front for longer. And I think that was what I'd interpreted the body language was. I did hear the kind of ironic cheers. And frankly, any walk of life, if a group of people stood around your office desk as you were typing an email and you made a typo and they went, "Oh, for goodness sake, you can't type your emails, you're so shit." You're hardly going to be in the best frame of mind to then type another email, are you? I know it's a crap example, but you get the point. And that's why tonight I was hoping that the North Stand in particular, but Portman Road would be just more appreciative and more cognizant of the situation here, which is if we could play George Hurst, we'd be playing George Hurst. If we could play Nathan Broadhead, we'd be playing Leif Davis, etc. We can't, and therefore you need to recalibrate your expectations. You need to support, and we were just so happy to stick the boot in at times. Not, again, minority, a small minority, but nevertheless, it's the minority that get heard when the ground is flat, when the noise is flat. And I'm sure that got through to Freddie, and it's not going to help him control the ball. You're right, Mikey. It's frustrating because you want him to do that simple stuff to build the confidence to get the crowd on side, and it just didn't happen. Those two efforts in the first half, he really probably should have done better with, if we're honest as well. The header, maybe second half as well. But he is playing with, to his level. And unfortunately, we're in the Championship now and we need better. And that's not a criticism of him. He's trying really, really hard. But it can't be nice when, people's expectation of you is up here. It's George Hurst levels or whatever. And you just can't hit it.
Yeah, absolutely. Shall we draw a line under this QPR game and just
I've still got more points about it, if that's all right. In terms of what we do next for Stoke, I mean, maybe to parlay into Stoke, Mikey, to your point, I'm still a little bit in the dark on the injury situation. It sounds like Burns and Broadhead is more of a viral situation rather than a muscular one.
I reckon Burns will be back if he's already got this virus. But if Broadhead's come down with it tonight, maybe Broadhead passed himself fit, having been a little bit ill the last few nights. But I think there's half a chance Broadhead and Burns. Obviously, Morsey will be back, which would be huge.
That was massive tonight. I think Seb made the point. You can maybe get away with a couple of these players not being around, but I think probably the thing that if I'm going to be negative about, I think we missed tonight was just the captain getting on the players' backs and setting the levels. I think Luongo plays by example, but he's not Sam Morsey, he's not as vocal, and I think there were times we needed a little bit of on-field captaincy, if that makes sense. And I'm not sure we really got it with Luongo with the armband. I think Burgess might be a shout. Chaplin, perhaps a better shout as well. I think we just lacked a little bit of leadership tonight.
How did you see Don Ball in the stadium? Because on the telly, I thought he was okay, but a lot of comments in the Telegram match day chat and some on here as well were saying that the Ball was a huge drop off. How did you see him?
I don't think he was I think it was pretty comparable to replacing Humphries with Davis. Sorry, Davis with Humphries. It's a player with ability that we know, but you're not going to get this. You're not going to get the Rolls Royce, are you? You're going to get the Peugeot 306. Fine, perfectly good, but it's not going to. This is the third podcast in a row that I'm going to do this. It's not going to butter many parsnips, and I think that was the issue for both Humphries and Ball, actually. And I think you might have alluded to it, Seb. In the first half, in particular, there were opportunities to be progressive, to take a risk, and I think they chose not to do that because they wanted to keep it safe and, quite understandably, play themselves into the game. But as a result, we weren't creating or forging those good progressive forward moves, and that's why we missed the likes of Morsey, because that's in his blood now. That's in his DNA, and the same with Davis. Davis knows how to bomb on. Humphries doesn't know how to do that, and again, we can't criticise them for not having that familiarity, having barely started any games.
Booth says, "Who did we miss more, Morsey or Hurst?" I think
where's Dave Diamond when we need him?
Yeah,
both, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it would have been Hurst, but then when you're missing so many senior players and you just need somebody to carry the team a little bit, I think for me it is Sam Morsey, even though the drop off is less fast. We've seen it before where Morsey's dropped in and played in a cup team. We've still looked really good. He's just kept us ticking over, hasn't he? And just raises the standards around him.
But I could argue that if Hutchinson in particular, or Jackson when he came on, make better choices with their final ball, and you've got someone like George Hurst who's waiting on the end of it, then he's more likely to put it in the net than Ladapo, isn't he? If we're honest. And that's the difference tonight. I mentioned it when I came in, like decision making. I'm really frustrated that Hutchinson hasn't grasped his opportunity to stake a claim for that right wing slot. He had the good shot in the first half, obviously got great pace, but the choices he made when he got in really good positions tonight really let us down. And Jackson had a few of those moments as well. So, maybe Morsey, you're right, Mikey, because the service wasn't going to get into Hurst, but I think Hurst scores one of those two chances in the first half that Ladapo got. When he's played in behind, I think Hurst is more instinctive in that moment and knows how to score.
And he just generally makes the game a lot harder for those QPR defenders.
Right.
Richard Howenstein had a good night there. My first Telegram live game chat. It was nice to be frustrated with others. You should see it on a good day, Richard. Even more enjoyable.
He's followed it up, Mikey, by the way. He's followed it up. Thank you, Richard.
Fantastic.
Thank you for the super chat. We appreciate you.
$9.99 as well. Fantastic. Bit of love here for Cameron Humphries from Matt Lovell. Was a real bright spot. A quite adept deputy for Leaf. I thought he played really safe in the first half, Rich. Which isn't necessarily a bad thing. And he was up against Willock. I think he acquitted himself well. It looked like he was told at halftime to come out and be a little bit more aggressive, and he definitely was, but he was dead on his feet at the end, wasn't he?
And he got a kick really early on in the first half. He went for a 50-50, and I forget who it was. It might have been Cook, probably wasn't. Kind of swiped through his shin to clear the ball away. There was a great cross into Ladapo, isn't there? That's from Humphries, and to Harness as well. I think he grew into the game, and I agree. I think a lot of people probably looked at that team and thought, "Wow, that's probably the biggest concern there." And I thought he acquitted himself well. And again, he's not gonna give you the Davis level, but I think he did enough tonight.
Tafka Wax says Hutchinson has the ability to score 10 plus a season, but isn't. Yeah, I really thought
he's so young though, isn't he? It's his first venture into professional men's football. So with those kind of young players, especially wingers and inside forwards, you are going to get inconsistency and hit and miss.
One thing the crowd did do well, and I think the lyrics are still crystallizing. There is a new Amari Hutchinson chant, or there is a Amari Hutchinson chant that I've heard for the first time, which is to the tune of "Dance with Somebody" by Whitney Houston. So
Yeah,
I won't sing it lest that
I
get
think
in
I
your
heard
head.
that at Watford.
Okay, fine. Fair
Yeah,
enough.
they've been trying to get that one going. Trevor Amos said, "What are the chances of Fulham selling Stansfield and how much?
I
Is that the
think
only way we sign Stansfield, do you think?"
No, I think more likely is a loan with an option to buy if we get promoted, isn't it? I mean, he's got an incredibly high ceiling. I'd be surprised if Leicester would let him go for the kind of figures that are being bound about in local media. Was it 3 million quid and 15 grand a week?
Fulham.
You know, by all means, take them with a pinch of salt. But I can't see Fulham letting a player like that with that kind of highly rated future going for that amount of money. So I think you do it as a loan. You probably pay a hefty loan fee. You cover all his wages, and then if you go up, you've got 8, 9, 10 million quid as an option to buy in there. That's how I think you do that deal.
Do you think there's a good chance we see him again? Sorry, going back to Hutchinson, do you think there's a good chance that we see him again on Saturday, Rich? Or do you think if Burns is back, could you see it being Burns and Harness if it isn't Broadhead?
I wondered tonight whether he didn't need to start Williams if he was going to play Humphries at left back. And I wonder whether he likes that pairing, because I think if you remember back to the Southampton game, particularly, Hutchinson and Williams were quite a pair. And I thought maybe that was in McKenna's thinking tonight. I think tonight hasn't done Brandon Williams any favours, frankly. It's sad to see the drop off there, and I'm sure he'll come back. He'll come good. But Clark has got that right back slot to me. So again, it's a question, Mikey, of does McKenna like these pairings, and therefore, if you play Clark, do you play Burns? Is what I'm thinking. I'd be bringing Burns back in because not only has he got the assist threat, but he's got the goal threat as well. We were trying to play balls across the box, and sometimes you want someone on the other end of it to stick a boot across it, and we didn't have that tonight.
Maybe a better question then is if Davis is still unavailable for Stoke away, who plays left back? Do you think it's Humphries again?
I think you'd keep it at Humphries. I think, like you say, he grew into the second half. He's got a decent delivery on him. We know he's fit as anything. You know, he's technically very good. He's incredibly fit. He'll get up and down the flank all night for you. And yeah, I just think Williams, ever since the rumours and stuff came out, and he barely kind of featured for some games. I think he's played 45 minutes against Watford in pretty much for this entire month, and he looks way off it at the moment. So I think I'd have Clark at right back on Monday, whenever it is, New Year's Day, and keep Humphries in that left wing back role, because he's probably the closest direct replacement for Leif Davis. He's not Leif Davis, fair enough, no one would be, but he's probably the closest replacement we've got for him in terms of his kind of, you know, fitness levels, his technical with his first touch and stuff, and he can pick a pass out when needed. So I stick him in there again personally.
I wonder whether Stoke is a little bit of a higher caliber opposition that you need someone with more experience than Cam Humphries at left back. That would probably be my thinking. I like where
he was up against Willock tonight. Willock
Willock
be a handful.
subbed at half time.
Yeah, no, yeah, but
body language, he didn't look fast, to be honest.
But going into the game, that's a potentially a high risk opposition to be paired up against, isn't it?
Yeah, and Smith is a good player as well. To be fair, the lad that came on.
But
but personally, I'd be going for Williams if Davis isn't fit. I'd go for Williams at left back, give him another go.
I think he tried to do that earlier in the season, didn't he? I think he has done a Clark-Williams combo, and may have been in the cup. I think it was in the cup, and I think it was Fulham actually, and it did not look good. So
but that night he put Clark at left back, didn't he?
Yeah. So I'm thinking
Clark was the left back, and Williams was the right back.
Maybe that might work.
Yeah, we've seen Clark right back, Williams left back at away at Southampton as well. I think. Did
we as a sub? Was it though? I'm not sure.
Maybe
chat might help us.
We'll see. Right, just dipping back into the chat. Should we talk about 2023 in general now?
Yeah, there was a few people, and I think you guys have talked about it as well. I think I've seen it in Telegram. People are starting to panic or starting to worry. I think right off tonight, I think we move on. The idea of this running out of steam or this blip. You know, if you want to look at team who's running out of steam, look at what Leeds have done since they beat us. You know, that's running out of steam, guys. We are not losing matches. Tonight, we didn't have our first choice 11, nowhere near it, and we still got a point with a League One team. Let's be honest, let's call it what it is, with a League One team. So I think tonight is kind of one of those take your medicine. You know, QPR sat back and got a point. They were quite happy with that. That's the level we're at now, guys. You know, our reserve team can hold its own against most teams in, you know, a good team in this division. I'm not going to pretend they're not Leicester, but you know, let's not pretend that this is, you know, all hell's breaking loose here. Let's take the point, move on, and 2024 signings will come in, and then we go again. We love saying that. Process. We go again. All the cliches you want.
Lovely.
Gord.
Thank you, Gord.
Thank you.
Canadian.
$10.
Is it Canadian?
10 Canadian dollars. Cool. What's the exchange rate there, Rich? Happy New Year, everyone. Looking forward to a great 2024. Rich, just before we move on from this, it was from the start where we had Williams and Clark. So occasionally this blind squirrel will find.
Hey,
find
come
enough.
on, we all love Mikey. Can you put some love for Mikey in the chat, by the way? Mikey's fixed his internet. Every time Mikey gets, you know, Freddie's like Freddie Ladapo, except he gets better with the abuse. And we don't want the abuse for him, but Mikey does everything he's asked. With like internet, he's fixed it. He had a guy round, he's had BT round more times than I can't remember. He's sorted microphones, backgrounds. We bloody love Mikey, so I hope all of you appreciate him too. Let's give Mikey some love in the chat.
Say well done to me for getting some decent internet.
No,
maybe congratulate me on this point that I'm about to make, Rich.
Here we go.
I believe that there was one other 0-0 this season where Cameron Humphries played, Shawnee Aluko played, and then what happened after? Then what did we do after?
There you go. 13-match winning run. Here we come.
Yes. Right, let's look back. January 2023. I haven't written anything down because I think it's more fun to do it like this. Highlight of January 2023 for me was the triple signing of Luongo, Clark, and Nathan Broadhead. This was, I mean, it actually didn't work straight away, did it? But it just became just the best trio of signings we possibly could have made in January.
Agreed.
We didn't see Luongo for like 2 months, did we? Do you remember? He just didn't feature, and Hurst was coming off the bench, getting up to speed, and Broadhead had problems with his mattress, didn't he? So he didn't appear for the first couple of games, and then they all got fit, and well, as they say, the rest is history, isn't it?
February was that the month where we played Oxford away? I think it was.
It was.
We'll park that one. I think it was Bristol Rovers away as well.
There's a Morsey Long Ranger MK Dons was quite memorable for 7,000 of us.
Was the 2-2 game against Wednesday? Was that February?
Yeah, Broadhead free kick.
Broadhead's free kick, yeah.
Yeah. I think the stirring comeback against Sheffield Wednesday is probably the genuine highlight, but then also maybe the start of that when we became the flat track bullies and we were just beating teams like, I don't know, was it Forest Green and teams like that in February. We'll go into March.
Talk to us about Bolton, Seb.
Yeah, Bolton
away, Seb.
Yeah, we'd had that winning run, haven't we? So we'd beaten, was it Forest Green and Morecambe and MK Dons, I think. And, you know, we kind of expected us to beat them given the calibre of players we brought in. But Bolton away was the first time. I had to dig out my research for it recently, and I didn't realise how good they were at the time. They'd taken like 40 points from 18 home games and stuff, and they were flying at the time. And that was the first of these kind of, I mean, it became routine by the end of the season with, you know, Peterborough and Barnsley and Derby. That was one of those games where we just completely nullified them. We get a bit of luck with the penalty save that Walton pulls just after half time. But Hurst was that Hurst's first league goal? I think that stunning half volley after Burns makes the run down the flanks, and then Burgess with the header from the corner. And that was the first time I left that game kind of thinking, okay, well, we've done it against the sides that we should do it against, and we've just completely nullified a playoff contender, an automatic promotion contender, and made them look very, very ordinary. So that was an extra kind of shot in the arm for what was about to come. But yeah, that was a real statement performance at the time, I thought. Could
you do April, Rich? Could you think of anything? Did anything good happen in April 2023?
But you know what? I'm going to ignore the obvious, mainly because I wasn't at them. I come up with this rule and I stuck with it, and I might need to go back to it. And so, in terms of April, the games that you want me to mention, I will say that me and Dave did the post-match straight after Barnsley, and it was one of the most joyous, hectic live pods we've ever done. But I'll shout out Port Vale at home. You know, a similar vibe to kind of tonight. A little bit of rotation, I think, in that one. But Port Vale just sat their manager. 3 players, I think, suspended, and really went for it. And we had to really dig in And that was again when Nathan Broadhead, he would have made a difference tonight, perhaps. Just changed the game in our favour. And one of those, we'd just been swatting teams aside, even the good teams, and we had to really dig in and fight for that 3 points. And we did that night.
Did you do the magnificent treble though at the end of the month, Seb?
I did, yeah. Peterborough, Barnsley, and Exeter.
I think we did the live show after Port Vale. That was good vibes for us that night. Not quite on the same level as Barnsley. We still had our fingers crossed for that week, but that week came along and it was just blissful, wasn't it?
It was crazy. Yeah, absolutely insane. I'm sure I've told the story before. I had a Sheffield Wednesday kind of colleague I was doing some stuff at work for, and he was saying there's no chance you go to London Road, you don't go to Peterborough, you don't go to Oakwell, you don't get 6 points. That's when you'll get found out and we'll catch you. And both sides, 3-0, kept them at arm's bay all night. The George Hurst moment will live for most of us, for forever. It's certainly in my top 5 town away days, having, supported them for 30 something odd years. So yeah, what an insane month that was. It was just every match just got better and better. And that week, if I could do it all again that week, I would, because it was absolutely incredible.
Tommy Lee says it was Forest Green, Milton Keynes Dons, Burton, Accrington, Bolton, Shrewsbury, Derby, Wickham. Yeah, 4-0 against Wickham. Cheltenham.
Drew with Charlton.
Yeah, Cheltenham was Easter Monday, wasn't it? We drew 1-1.
Yeah. Was it 6-0
against Charlton?
Port Vale, that one that you mentioned, Rich, and then Peterborough, Barnsley, Exeter, and then we go to into May. I guess highlight of May, Rich, was the ongoing celebrations being back in the Championship. The hangover of all times from Harry Clark. Didn't he get himself sent off at Fleetwood?
Yes. Yeah, we snuck a point against Fleetwood, didn't we? Yeah. That was probably the highlight.
And then we get into June and July. I can't really remember when we made these signings permanent, but we signed Master
Jack Taylor was June.
Okay, Jack Taylor in June. That first signing and all of the excitement for what was to come. Then we eventually get Hurst and Luongo as well. And then we move into August. And I think somebody somewhere has mentioned already. And I think
Richard.
Yeah, I would probably agree.
Oh yeah,
surely June. Don't forget as well. Wasn't June when McKenna signed his deal as well?
There you go.
Lovely stuff, Seb.
Sure, that was June.
We'll go with that. Winning at Sunderland first game felt like a dream. Yeah,
on Sky as well, and that was a real again one of all those things that could go against you kind of thing. 20 minutes of extra time or whatever.
Felt like that game was going to go the way that the Leeds game did, didn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't it weird looking back now how nervous we were with Flagship playing the ball out from the back? Remember, people were giving him pelters saying, why are we doing this?
Look at this, July. We won the
Innsbruck Cup.
You'll never sing that. Love that horse hollerer.
Fantastic. Booth says McKenna contract in June as well. Brings us into September. Anyone remember anyone's from September?
Southampton away. I think that was September.
Southampton away was really good.
Sheffield Wednesday.
Blackburn at home.
Sheffield Wednesday started poorly, but I think Seb, you were at Hillsborough for the 2 all last season, and it kind of felt like we were robbed there. So that felt kind of symbolic to get that victory, maybe at Hillsborough. But this,
potentially for me, it's Southampton. The first time we kind of went away to one of these parachute sides, and I know they were in a bit of a dodgy run of form, weren't they? They lost 4 on the bounce. I think it was 2 heavy defeats before us. They lost to Leicester and Sunderland. I think they conceded like 10 goals in those 2 games. But that was the first time we'd kind of gone up against one of the. I know we lost to Leeds, but away at one of the parachute sides, and we kind of ground out and got the win from Amari Hutchinson's goal, and that's when I started to kind of think, oh, hang on a minute, we're really not going to go away from the top of the table here.
Neil Johnson goes for the 4-3 win over Blackburn. That was the late Luongo goal, wasn't it? Absolute scenes. And then we're going to October. Rich,
Hull,
and you're putting loads of. Okay, well we can go with Hull if you like. I was going to go for that wonderful day where we beat Preston.
You can
live show.
Yeah, fair play. I think Hull has been our best performance of the season, though. Most complete performance. But yeah, quite right. Blue Monday Live. Chambo in fantastic form. Yep.
Yeah. Horse Oliver goes, Hull Preston North End home double because I was there, and we did score some ridiculous goals in that week, didn't we? November. Come on, guys, help me out.
There's a run
here.
after West Brom, isn't there?
Yeah, the first half against Millwall, because we'd lost to West Brom on the Saturday, hadn't we? 2-0, kind of hadn't laid a glove on them. And some people were saying, a bit like tonight, has the bubble burst? Have we run out of steam, etc.? And then that opening 45 against Millwall, we were absolutely superb. 3-0 at half time. Luongo, Chaplin, and Broadhead, was it, I think, with the goals. And that just kind of, got West Brom right off our back straight away and had us in a really strong position going into December.
And then we go into December, and we're treated right at the very start of the month to the goal of the season, one of the best Ipswich Town goals, if not the best Ipswich Town goal of all time. Rich, just a shame that it happened at the wrong end of the ground.
Yeah, well, it's been a theme of late. I've barely seen any goals up the North Stand. Then I was thinking it would change after Leicester, but no. But yeah, Wes Burns and. Shout out to our mates at Mazzala. You can get yourself a print of that goal, and we gave one of them away, didn't we? But yeah, just that finish, but it was the whole move that went with it. And if people out there are getting, I was going to say something really bad. So if people are starting to brick it about our credentials for promotion, then watch that goal over again. Hi, Wolf. I saw that comment. If you want to qualify it, maybe helpful, and we can talk about it here, but. I just think our fundamentals are so strong that once we're at full strength, which we weren't tonight, then it's we're a different kettle of fish, if that's a phrase.
Richard Howenstein says the 3 in a row: Coventry, Middlesbrough, and Watford. Yeah, that was pretty special.
Well,
wasn't
yeah,
it?
you were.
I really enjoyed Watford away.
Yeah, Morsey at Vicarage Road, Mikey. Surely you were limsing it up there, weren't you?
I was, yeah. That was some night. That one really enjoyed
crutches
that.
In the air.
Yeah. And then we rolled into the East Anglian derby, didn't we? That could have been the highlight of the month, but it wasn't quite.
Lovely breakfast at the Greyhound.
Yeah, but yeah, overall, Seb, surely it can only be the year 2000 in our lifetime that could possibly beat 2023. Best year so, of all of our adult lives.
For the three of us. Yeah, for the three of us, 2000 probably just about pips it with the promotion, and then what carried on in the Premier League, kind of the first half of that season. But yeah, this year's been absolutely incredible. So many moments, that we've just sat back and discussed. And yeah, what a year we've had as Town fans. We've been incredibly spoiled, which may be why we kind of do overreact a little bit to draws these days, not even defeats, to draws these days. We've had an incredible 12 months of football. We are incredibly lucky, and if 2024 can be even 50% as good as 2023, it should be a very, very enjoyable year coming up.
50 points and 50 goals, is that what you're saying?
That'll do. I'll take that now.
Really? For the whole year?
No, sorry, no, for the second half of this season, yeah.
Yep.
Lovely. Anything to plug before we go, Rich, or
we'll be back on the 2nd to chat Stoke, so it won't be a live reaction, not at full time. It will be the next day, 8 p.m. So join us for that. And I think Seb's getting involved in that. You're going to Stoke, aren't you?
My closest game of the season.
How to have
a home game for me. Yep. I am going to Stoke on New Year's Day. Brilliant.
Living the dream. So yeah, join the guys on the 2nd. Seb and I might do some pod business live on air, but I don't know whether we'll do a pre-match for Wimbledon. I think we might just talk about it on that 2nd show. But so keep an eye on the website and all that kind of stuff. We'll and our socials. There's some very generous super chats going on, by the way. But so we'll come to those in a second. But yeah, 2nd, we've definitely got a show on the 2nd for Stoke. Probably a bit of a mini preview for Wimbledon, and then we'll do the flagship for Wimbledon on the usual Sunday. Normal service will resume.
It will. David Bergen, thank you so much. You really didn't have to, but yeah, really appreciate all of you guys. 10 euros straight into my back pocket, and we've got some New Zealand dollary dues now. Chris McTaggart, still a very happy Kiwi tracks point, as you should be. It's been absolutely fantastic being able to share this incredible year with all of you lot. Please keep watching us. Please keep listening to us. Please keep liking the videos, subscribing, get involved in the Telegram. It's been a fantastic 2023, and it's going to be difficult for 2024 to top it, but hey, why not? Up the Town.